I closed my door, I lay down in my bed, turn off all my lights, and I just closed my eyes and just trying to go to sleep. When all of a sudden I felt this, I can only describe it as a feeling of imminent death. Fast forward to me being 23. I did not, like I said, did not believe in Jesus or God, did not really believe in a higher power, but I just felt like there was something, but I didn't know what that something was. And at this point in my life, I had loud truck there. I had a girlfriend at the time who was going to a youth group, who had grown up very Christian, and she never really pressured me to be Christian myself. She never pressured me to follow Jesus. She just kind of gave me her own experience and was very kind about it. And we had a group of friends there that I met through her, and they all went to the same youth group. So we all started going to this youth group ministry together, which actually took place in my old elementary school, which I thought was very coincidental. And we started going there, and I used that really to be a jerk. I would mock every single lesson that they would ever teach over there. And like I said, no one ever pressured me to think one way or the other. No one ever told me, oh, you're going to go to hell if you don't believe this. Everyone was really cool, honestly. But anytime I had the opportunity, I would kind of poke and jab at Jesus or at God or at the particular gospel lesson that they were going over at that time. And I felt great about it. I never felt guilty. I never had any sort of like second thought about it. I just didn't feel like it mattered. I felt like I could say whatever I want, do whatever I want. And, it's God. God's not real. Nothing's going to happen to me. Until one night, it was a perfectly normal day throughout the day. Nothing really eventful had happened. I had been going out with this girlfriend for about 2 years or so. That relationship was already coming to an end. I could just feel it. We were already drifting apart. And, when you're a couple and one person is an atheist and one person is, very deeply believes in God and believes in Jesus, those kind of relationships, do not typically last very long. Or if they do last, they're typically very stressed. They're not comfortable relationships. So we were getting to that point where we were about to kind of split up. And I was getting into bed. I laid in bed. I closed my door just like I always do when, typically when you're going to go to bed, you just lock your door, turn off all your lights, and, you just sit there and close your eyes and go to sleep. I closed my door. I laid down in my bed, turn off all my lights, and I just closed my eyes and just trying to go to sleep. When all of a sudden I felt this, I can only describe it as a feeling of imminent death. Everything in my body was telling me that I was about to die. I had only felt that time in my life. I've never ever felt that feeling before. And I'll afterwards, since then, I've only felt it one other time, and it was directly related to someone's death. But this time was the first time I was ever feeling it. And it basically just felt like I was going to die, and it was inescapable because it was happening in my body. When you, just like if you have taken, if you've ever taken a drug or alcohol or anything, it's in your body. You can't do anything about it. You're going to have this experience whether you like it or not. So I started having this feeling of dread. It was, a terrible feeling. It crept up from my toes, from my feet, all the way up my body. And it was terrifying me. Hold on one second. So I was having this feeling that was creeping up my body. I didn't know what to make of it. I really, really start panicking because I don't know what is going on. When the feeling was creeping up my feet, as it was creeping up my leg, it felt like that part of me was dying and becoming necrotic just right there on the spot. As this feeling completely engulfs my entire body, I have no idea what to think. I have no idea what is going on. I pull the cover over my face to try to somehow, I don't know, just sort of some kind of fight or flight reflex to try to hide or to try to get away from this feeling that I'm feeling. Right before I pull the cover over my eyes, I look over to my door that I know I had just locked. For sure, I had just closed that door and it was sealed when I laid down. I open my eyes and I look at it and it's opened just a little bit. And the feeling or the shock really of noticing that my door was open a little bit, I felt like someone was right outside that door and they were there to take me. I don't know where they were going to take me. I just felt like I was going to be taken from wherever I was, whether it was this place on earth, whether it was in my room, whether it was in my bed. I just knew, I had this feeling that I was going to be taken somewhere really against my will. And I want to reiterate that this experience that I'm explaining right now, this was not a dream. Dreams happen when you are asleep. I was 100% awake when this happened. And this is not a hallucination. Hallucinations happen when you drink too much, take drugs, even take a Benadryl. I was completely sober, no drugs, no alcohol, no anything. This was just completely out of the blue. As I am noticing that the door is open, I'm getting this feeling that someone is there to take me. I pull the cover over my eyes. As I do that, the shock and the fear of feeling like someone is there to take me somewhere gets my heart beating so rapidly and so fast that I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. I'm seeing spots and I'm seeing stars on just like the peripheral of my vision all around. I'm more scared than I've ever been in my entire life. The shock of this, the next thing I feel is I am suddenly falling backwards rapidly. Like I'm on a roller coaster, and when a roller coaster goes up and then it goes down, you feel like inside, you feel your organs kind of like jostling around in your body. You feel your heart and your lungs and your stomach. You feel everything go up and go down. That's exactly what this was. I was falling backwards and I could feel everything in my body accelerating with this. As I'm falling backwards, I feel like I'm breaking through different earths or different levels of earth, like as if I was sleeping on a 100-story building on the very top, on the 100th story. And as I'm falling backwards, I'm falling through each floor, like boom, 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 just like all the way down. And as I'm doing this, I just see darkness all around me. And there's just this pinhole of light that the light was larger when I was falling. And then the further I fell, the smaller that light got. Kind of like in The Ring, if you've ever seen the movie The Ring, how when the girl falls down the well, all she sees above is just this little bit of light. That's what it felt like. I was just falling and falling away from this light. Once I regained my awareness, I didn't feel any impact of landing. I didn't slam hard on the floor or anything, but The next thing I realize, I'm in a cave of some kind. I see dirt and I see rocks just right below me, and I feel very, very weak. Very weak. I can't stand up. I'm kind of in this like crouched position with my shoulders hunched over. I'm basically just facing the ground. And the very first thing, the first sense that I got that I was somewhere was the sound of people screaming. And when I tell you they were screaming, I mean, it is, I've never heard a scream like this on earth, in a movie, in real life, even in, if you watch a video of some sort of disaster happening, an earthquake, a fire, I mean, there's nothing that I've ever heard that compares to these absolutely horrifying shrieks of agony and pain that I was hearing when I was here. So I'm hearing these insane screams, cries, shrieks of horror and agony. I look over to my right, and there is a literal lake of fire. And there are people that are in this lake of fire. And they're just burning, and they're burning and screaming, and some of them are lifting up their hands to try to get out of the lake of fire. And I could literally see the flesh melting off of their hands. I could see the flesh melting off of their faces, their eyeballs popping from the intense, intense heat. And I also saw some people that had fully burned already. All of their flesh had already burned off, and their flesh was regenerating just to burn off and for them to go through it again. I mean, it was the scariest, most terrifying thing I could ever see. And that was over to my right. Over in front of me, the area that I was in was very dark. Like, it was dark, but it was also bright at the same time because there was fire, and the fire had a luminance to it. But the light that the fire was emanating didn't travel very far. It would just travel like a couple inches, and that was it. So it's like you have fire, but there's also darkness. I look in front of me, and I notice that I'm in what seems to be a cave, but the cave walls didn't look like a normal cave. They looked like almost like they were bleeding flesh. That's like the best way I could describe it, or like troll skin. And it had a blood, it had a liquid texture to it that I could see that was reflective of the flames that were coming from the lake of fire that was over to my right. And as I'm hearing this, as I'm seeing this, I'm also introspecting into myself what I myself am feeling. And I am feeling absolute, utter despair, hopelessness, loss, guilt, resentment. I mean, every single bad feeling that a human is capable of, I was feeling in this moment. And when I say hopelessness, I mean the deepest, most intense feeling of hopelessness and despair. I felt like I could cry forever. And when I say forever, I literally felt myself crying. I could feel a tear starting to come down my eye. And then as I would yell out and let out a scream, I could feel that scream echoing just like through eons and eons of time. That is happening to me. I'm looking over to the right. I'm seeing what's happening to all these people. And I realize, oh my God, I'm in hell. How did I get here? How did this happen? And this feeling of resentment and guilt started hitting me like, I can't believe that everything is lost now. I had this beautiful life on earth, and now it's all gone. I've lost it. And there's nothing that I can do to get it back. It was a complete giving up of control. While I was on earth, I had control of my life. But now that I was in this place, I had no control. I had no authority. Every bit of free will and authority that I thought I had on earth had been completely taken away. And I was just felt with this incredibly intense sadness that I thought, oh my God, now my parents are going to come into my room the next day and they're just going to find my dead body in my bed. And they're not going to know what happened. They're not going to know about this experience. I'm never going to be able to tell them that I love them again. I'm never going to be able to experience, another breath on earth. It was this super intense feeling of hopelessness and loss. I had no idea what I had, but now it's lost forever and I can never get it back. I mean, it was just the worst feeling that I've ever felt in my life. As I'm feeling this, as I'm basically saying farewell to my life and being so sad and upset that now everything is lost, the people that were over to my right, that were in this lake of fire, who had just a second ago, they were screaming in agony in a way that I've never heard before, intensely. Now I start to hear them change. Their attitude shifts. Instead of screaming, now one by one, each one of them starts saying, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And it gets louder and louder. And I see a white light that's emanating over from my right shoulder. And I'm too weak to actually turn over and look in his direction or to see what they're looking at or what they're sensing. My attention is so towards myself and what I'm feeling that it's like I don't even have the energy to think or to look at anything else but to really just sit in my feelings right now. As these people start saying, Jesus, Jesus, and I see this white light kind of coming forward, the people who were in the flames started reaching out towards him. I could see their hands swiping over, just to try to touch his robe. And I'm just seeing this off of the very, very peripheral, the far peripheral of my right eye. I'm seeing them just try to grab at him, and they can't. Their hands come, within millimeters of touching his robe, and they can't. They can't, but they know that if they do, they would be sent to heaven. Because now that they're in this place, now that they realize how everything works, now that they realize what your life on earth was, now they understand that Jesus is real. Now they understand that God is real.
Thank you so much for watching this clip. If you want to see the full interview, just click on the video on your screen right now or check the description below for the link. I'll see you there.